we are talk about the fourth theory, right? This is Erikson psychosocial stage model. All right, I don't want to gloss over it. Okay, this is actually not so simple. Okay, it looks very easy. It looks very easy, like everybody can understand. Okay, just go and memorize. But the real picture is there's more than you meet the eye. All right. And then because some of the terms, okay, they're very, very hard to understand, right? Very, very hard to understand, right? So I will need to show everybody another slide, right, to show everybody what I mean, all right? And then in our textbook, right, I just want to bring everybody's attention, right, to 20 and 30, 20 to 30, okay? This is just our textbook, all right? Okay, in other textbook, right, in other papers, usually it's like 20 to 40, right? 20 to 40, yeah. So maybe okay, this is maybe like 30, it should be 39, okay? 20 to 39. I think that would be much more accurate, okay? So I will talk about yeah, from the first row onwards. So a basic trust versus mistrust, okay? That's like one again when you're first born, to you're like 1.5 year old, right? You got to know how to trust your parents, correct? And then people who are not your parents, you need to learn how to mistrust them, right? So this is a task. So if you manage to cross this developmental threshold, right? This is the first stage, right? You would have some kind of secure attachment, right, with your mother, right? So most of us achieve this, okay? Achieve this, right? And then from this 1 to 2 years, okay, there's a bit of overlap, right? Okay, you gain some kind of autonomy, okay, because that is a time when toddlers, right, start to walk, right, start to babble, right? So autonomy and then versus shame and doubt. Okay, why is it shame and doubt, right? So this is yeah, this is kind of hard to understand. So I will need to explain this. So it's autonomy versus shame and doubt because when you're like 1 and 2 years old, okay, like a 1 year old child, okay, running out around the room, right? You can easily urinate on the sofa, okay, like even like shit on the floor, okay, that's all possible, right? So once that happens, right? I mean, cognitively speaking, this child is still in a sensory motor stage, right? He will start to develop something, right? He's not an animal after all, right? Okay, he's not a basic, an ordinary animal, okay? A human advanced animal, right? He will start to develop this sense of shame, okay? Sense of shame, okay? If he starts to urinate, the parents start to scold him, and then maybe like punish him, right? He will feel a sense of shame. But at the same time, there will be some kind of doubt as well, right? Because he couldn't really tell when it's all right to urinate and when is it not, right? Because he's not really fully cognitively developed, right? So that's the thing. So that's where doubt coming, right? And that's you need more brain development, more nutrition, and then it's only when you reach like 3 to 6 year old. Okay, let's say he reached like a 4 year old. Okay, 4 year old, right, in the midway point. Then you have this initiative. Okay, initiative is also like extension autonomy, right? It's not just walking around. Okay, initiative means that the child is learning to be proactive. He's learning to do something for himself. He knows that he cannot just go on urinating on the floor, right? He has to go to the toilet, right? Bring up the cover and then urinate, right? That's what he should be doing, right? That's for a boy, like, okay. For a girl, basically, you have to lower the cover, right, and sit on it, right? He needs to have all this initiative. And then the guilt, of course, the guilt, if it's it comes from not doing all these tasks well, right? I mean, if this person, usually it comes at a later age, right? Not 3 years old, right? Usually it comes at 6 year old, right? 6 year old is like you're in kindergarten too, right? If at 6 year old, right, the kindergarten child is still kind of pooping, is still kind of urinating in his pants, right? You will feel ashamed, right? You'll feel guilty. Or say, oh, what is happening, right? Yeah. You have a sense of guilt, okay? I'm still like an infant. I'm still behaving like an infant, right? This shouldn't be the way. Yeah. So that's how you should be seeing things, right? All these concrete example. And then later on, when we get to 7 to 11 years old, okay, we are in primary school, right? This is before our PSLE, right? So notice that it's 11 years. Why not 12 years? Okay, because 11 years during Erikson's time, right? He did this thing during the 40s, 50s, right? 40s, okay, when he was around 40 years old, right? 11 years old is when people, okay, graduate from primary school, right? That's it. There's no such thing as 12-year-old. 12-year-old is later on, right? So you'll kind of realize in primary school that some people that you need to work hard, right, to get some stars, okay, to get some stars, to get some praise from your teachers, right? You really got to do something, right? And then based on that, okay, the child will start to compare him or herself with his classmates. And then if he realizes that despite doing all that he can, he just couldn't outperform certain other people, right? His friends, he will start to feel inferior, right? So notice that all this negativity, right? All this negative emotions, shame, doubt, guilt, inferiority is like one over the next, right? But the next one is always kind of more complicated than the former one, right? So that's how you should be seeing things, yeah. So this one is easy to understand, all right? And now when we come to adolescence, we have this thing called identity versus identity confusion. Wow, what is this, right? So this is the formative years. Okay, some maybe Erikson sees it as something like a critical period. Okay, I do think he possibly see it as a critical period because this is so crucial from like 12 years old until like 19 years old. Okay, that's late adolescence, all right? It should be 18 years old, right? So that is a period of time, okay, 9 year span that you should be figuring out, okay, especially when you are in high school, okay, what you should be working at, what you should be aiming for in your future life, okay, as a working adult, all right? Once you hit like 30, okay, and then what kind of career should you be working at, right? Do you want to work as a teacher? Do you want to work as a policeman, a civil servant or whatever, okay? And then he will also kind of realize because that is during a time in which he's taking a lot of exams, okay? He will also kind of realize that, okay, maybe he's just not really up to what he imagined to be. Like say he wants to be a lawyer, want to be a medical doctor, but then he's like a straight C person. And then he realizes that with straight C, there's no way he can get into medical school, right? So there will come a time, when that person, we've all been through this, okay? I'm sure we've all been through this, right? That, you kind of realize that despite whatever you do, you couldn't get into that school you want, right? That's university you want. So that's identity confusion, right? So you will go through a stage like this, all right? And now this is where everybody is at, right? University, okay, your 20s, okay, to 30. So Erikson in this scenario, right, he's seeing this thing from a Western centric perspective, okay? Because from his developmental years in Germany and then later on when he's living in America, right? This is a US centric kind of view. I think this view is possibly outdated, right? So he during that time he was talking about intimacy versus isolation. So what is he thinking about? He's thinking about forming romantic relationships, right? He's thinking about getting married, right? All these things, all right? So that's his time. Okay, so but for applying to our time, I think this thing is getting more and more difficult, right? Later on, I will talk about it, right? So if you couldn't have a partner, by 39, most likely you're going to suffer from instances of isolation. I mean, not total isolation, but yeah, it wouldn't be a complete life, right? You wouldn't be a complete life, bro. So that's a bit sad, okay, for many singles out there, okay, including myself. Okay, now let's look at this from 40 right to 60s, right? So this is also critical period. Okay, this is really the bulk of a middle age life, right? So you want to look at this generativity, right? Okay, whoa, this is a very, very big word, okay? Generativity versus stagnation. Okay, we all know what stagnation is. What is generativity? So generativity is asking you, are you contributing? Are you producing things? All right? Are you generating new information, new resources to benefit the people around you, right? So because like 40s is during the time in which we should be pretty stable in our careers, all right? Pretty stable, okay? During his time, especially, right? But now I think 40s, everybody still have to struggle, right? So you need to consider, okay, am I benefiting the people around me? Am I generating new knowledge? Am I helping others? Am I giving other people, right? Giving things, right? Or am I taking things, right? Am I just taking things? I'm not producing anything. And then when you come to reflect it, if it's really the reverse, you're really, at the mercy of other people. If you realize that is what happening, okay, I mean during that time, I mean you can be broke, you can be homeless, and then that will be stagnation. That will really be stagnation, right? And then you kind of realize that I'm really of no worth whatsoever to the society at large, right? That will be stagnation, right? So not good to have. And then 60s onwards, that is retirement, right? That's when you're kind of looking back at your life, right? Integrity versus despair, right? So integrity, we're talking about integrity of the entire lifespan, right? So you'll be thinking, have I made all the right decisions, right? Did I lead this wholesome life, right? What are all the good memories I have, right? So if there are more good memories than bad memories, then you will really be high on integrity, right? If you're low on integrity, then that will be depression, definitely. That will be despair, and there can be trauma as well, right? So hopefully, when all of us reach, age 60, we can be in the integrity zone, right? Yeah. So this is, in a nutshell, what Erikson is proposing. Okay, and this theory, I mean, it sounds very superficial at first, but I would just want to let everybody know this thing actually it really stood the test of time, right? So now, okay, this last slide before we look at what's on the forum. Okay, this. So I want everybody to actually just, this is really just for everybody's knowledge. This is from one of my US professors. Okay, so the first 5 stages, all right, from this 0 month all the way until 11 years. Okay, I would say, okay, our teenage years. Okay, our teenage years. Okay, yeah, our young adolescents. Right, this is actually tied to Sigmund Freud's psychosexual theory. All right. So this one I'm not going to elaborate because we're running short of time. This one you guys will learn in our developmental psychology module, right? Our this core mod. Okay, so this is where we are at right now. This intimacy versus isolation, right? So we are actually seeking for love, all right? From 20 all the way until 39. Okay, this love is not just about finding a partner, right? So this is a contemporary view. Okay, it's not just about finding a partner, all right? Okay, it's also about having stable harmonious relationship with family, friends, work partners, yada yada, all the people around us, right? Just like me, trying to have a good relationship with everyone here, right? With my students, right? This is love. Okay, in the biblical sense, right? In the religious sense, right? And then generativity is what I said, right? These are all higher order, higher order constructs. So very meaningful. Okay, whether one is a net producer or a taker, right? Ideally, we should give more than we take. Okay, so this is really about how well you are caring for other people. So the care, also the central one is care, right? The middle adulthood, okay, always try to be a caring person. Okay, it will do you good when you reach 60, right? So looking back at life, is it good or is it bitter, right? Is it memorable? We all want to have a memorable life, okay? Because once age 60, once 70 comes, yeah, effectively our life is pretty much over, right? Okay, I would say half of our life, 2/3 of our life is pretty much over, right? So that is a time, based on all this reflection, you will try to gain some kind of wisdom. Okay, you're trying to gain some wisdom, right? I mean, if you can make some sense out of your life, right, then really you have accomplished a higher order dimension, right? Higher level of consciousness, right? So before I stop, okay, I just want everybody to notice, okay, even though we saw the word versus here, right, you should not be treating this thing as binary constructs, okay? It's not like either or. It's not A or B. No. Okay, it's a developmental task. Okay? All these things lies on the continent, right? It's actually you can picture it as a bell curve, right? Because it can involve one person, but again, this is not just one person. It is the one person extending as a micro representation of the entire general population, right? So of course we can involve lots of other individuals, right? So once we get data from lots of other individuals, we can have something like a normal distribution, right? So none of us, when we talk about this intimacy versus isolation, none of us is like 100% intimate with somebody, right? And none of us is 100% isolated, right? I mean, because ultimately you're working, right? If you're working, how can you be an island, right? You cannot be an island, right? So most of us fall somewhere in the middle, right? So if you have the best of both worlds, that is what we all should be reaching for, okay? Reaching for, okay? Both intimate, we have both intimate relationship, but at the same time, we're not isolated, okay? We're not isolated, right? That's what we should be aiming for, yeah.